The night side of Earth's orbital station glowed with steady lights, a silent ring floating above a blue and white planet inside the command center. Commander Ross sat in his chair, eyes fixed on the scrolling signals streaming across the main screen. His shift had been quiet so far, just routine traffic, cargo convoys, survey ships. Were there updates? Nothing unusual. Then the signal appeared. At first, it was faint, a ripple of sound buried in static. Lieutenant Mira leaned forward at the comm station and frowned. Commander, we're getting an unscheduled transmission. Origin is not from any human source, not even from the trade routes we know. Ross raised an eyebrow. Deep space? Farther than that, Mira replied as she ran the signal through a decoder. It's alien, sir. I'm seeing symbols that don't match any registered language. Ross stood and walked to her console. The sound resolved into a pattern, a repeating cycle that pulsed like a heartbeat. The computer translated the basic intent into one word. Help. Ross folded his arms. Someone's in trouble. Question is, do we answer? Mira asked. She looked uneasy. Humanity had made contact with other species before, but only through controlled meetings and slow, careful diplomacy. A distress signal out of nowhere meant danger, and danger in space never stayed small. Get me the source, Ross ordered. The computer marked the origin point on the star map, a distant system on the edge of known space. It was not far from Earth's latest exploration sector. Ross turned to his crew. Wake navigation. I want a vector plotted now. If someone is calling for help, we're not just sitting here. Within the hour, the Terran ship Resolute broke orbit and engaged its drives. The vessel was not a warship by strict classification, but it carried weapons and armor for defense. Out here, any ship needed both. Space was beautiful, but it was also dangerous, and humans had learned long ago that survival required readiness. 3 days later, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a pale yellow star. A small planet came into view, and Ross immediately saw the scars. Entire regions on the surface burned with black smoke. Ships drifted in orbit, some shattered into pieces, reading multiple life signs on the surface. Mira said as she scanned the planet. Also, several unidentified ships approaching the wreckage. They're not responding to hails. Ross narrowed his eyes. Keep shields up. We're going in slow. The Resolute descended carefully, broadcasting peaceful intent in all open frequencies. Soon, a response came, weak and broken. A soft voice spoke through static. This is the Varn colony. We request aid. Attackers still near. We are defenseless. The translation software worked quickly. The words were simple but urgent. Ross listened carefully. The voice did not sound hostile, only desperate. Patch me through, Ross said. When the channel opened, he spoke in calm, even tones. This is Commander Ross of the Terran Exploration Corps. We've received your signal. We're here to help. The alien voice trembled. Humans, we heard of you. We expected traders, not fighters. Please. If you stay, they will destroy you too. Go before it's too late. Ross exchanged a glance with Mira. The warning was clear. Whoever these attackers were, they scared even the ones calling for help. Ross answered firmly, we don't leave people behind. Tell us what you need. As the Resolute landed near a damaged settlement, the crew saw the Varn for the first time. They were tall, with narrow frames and translucent skin that shimmered in the dim light. They moved gracefully, but with fear in every step. Children clung to adults. Buildings lay in ruins, windows shattered, power grids failing. Ross stepped out in full field armor, his boots crunching against broken ground. The aliens looked at the humans with wide, uncertain eyes. Their leader, a figure named Tal, approached. Slowly, you came armed, Tal said through the translator. We hoped for tools and medicine, not soldiers. Ross shook his head. We're explorers. But explorers need to survive what they find. We can help you rebuild. And if someone comes to hurt you again, we'll stop them. Tal hesitated. You don't understand. The raiders are not like you. They crush everything they see. They will not fight fair. Ross looked over the colony's damage, then back at Tal. Then it's lucky for you we don't play fair either. Humans grew up on a world where storms tear cities apart and predators hunt at night. We know what it's like to fight to stay alive." The alien leader blinked, clearly unsure what to make of this species from Earth. Later that night, as the Resolute crew distributed supplies and medical kits, Ross sent a coded message back to Earth. He did not request assistance. He ordered it. On the far side of the Sol system, command centers lit up. Defense fleets stirred from their docks. The Terran flotilla, 10 ships strong, each hardened by years of patrolling dangerous sectors, began to prepare for launch. Ross stood on the edge of the colony, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the raiders were still prowling, ready to return. The aliens were terrified. But to Ross, this was nothing new. "Commander," Mira said quietly, standing beside him, "you think Earth will actually send the flotilla?" "They will," Ross said without hesitation. "Humans don't ignore distress calls. Not now. Not ever." In the dark sky above the wounded planet, a human warship gleamed in orbit, far away. Engines roared to life as Earth's ships left their stations one by one, answering a call that was never meant for them. The aliens had asked for help. They had no idea what kind of help they were about to get. The colony of the Varn lay silent in the thin light of dawn. Broken towers cast long shadows across cracked streets. Commander Ross walked through the settlement with 2 of his officers, scanning the damage. Humans had seen war before, but here, it looked different. There were no walls burned black by heavy weapons, no craters from precision strikes. The damage was scattered and cruel, as if the attackers had struck at random only to frighten rather than conquer. Lieutenant Mira spoke, while checking her wrist display. "No power in most sectors. Food reserves destroyed. Life support systems failing. If these people are this weak, I can see why they sent that distress call." A group of Varn approached carefully. Their leader Tal walked in front, carrying a staff made from pale metal. Behind him, several young Varn watched the humans with wide eyes. The colony had never seen soldiers before, certainly not human ones in heavy armor. Tal raised a thin hand. "Commander Ross, you should not stay. The raiders will return soon. They always return. If you fight them, they will punish us more." Ross stopped in the middle of the street. His voice was calm but firm. "If we leave, they will destroy you. If we stay, at least you have a chance. Humans don't run from trouble." The words made the Varn whisper among themselves. They could not understand this kind of thinking. To them, survival meant hiding, not standing and fighting. One young Varn stepped forward and spoke with a shaking voice. "Your ship looks dangerous. Why do explorers carry weapons? Are you not afraid?" Ross looked down at the small figure and removed his helmet. His face was lined from years of work in space, his eyes steady. "Where we come from, danger is part of life. Our storms tear cities apart. Our oceans swallow ships. Our ground shakes and burns. If you want to live on Earth, you must learn to fight, even against the world itself. So no, we're not afraid." Tal frowned. "You sound proud of this hardship," Ross replied. "We are proud that we survived it." While Ross spoke to Tal, Mira stayed back with the medical team. The Varn were surprised to see humans handing out water, repairing broken filters, and patching wounds with steady hands. To the Varn, strength and kindness did not belong together, yet these humans carried both. Near the colony's edge, a tall figure watched quietly. It was Saren, one of the colony's scholars. He whispered to another Varn, "Look at their armor. Look at their machines. They are not simple explorers. They are warriors. If we trust them, they may draw fire to us." His companion nodded nervously. "Maybe we should not have sent that signal." But the humans worked without fear. Ross ordered. Supply crates unloaded, drones deployed, and landing pads cleared. The colony had no weapons of its own, only thin walls and a few scanning posts. Ross was already planning to turn those into defensive stations. That night, the Varn Council gathered in their central hall, a round building with glowing panels dimmed from lack of power. The humans joined them, standing tall in their armor. Ross had Mira translate as the discussion began. "We must ask you to leave," Tal said firmly. "The raiders only want resources. If you stay, they will see it as a challenge. They will come in greater numbers. Ross did not move. If they come in greater numbers, then we meet them in greater strength. My people will not watch you die. An older Varn spoke in a trembling voice. But why? We are strangers to you. Our world has nothing to offer. Why risk your lives? Ross looked around the hall, making eye contact with each council member. Because we know what it's like to be weak and alone. Long ago, no one came to help us. We decided never to let that happen to anyone else. There was silence. The Varn had never met a species that spoke like this. Most travelers who passed near their colony asked for payment, trade, or control. The humans asked for nothing. Later, as the humans returned to their ship, Mira walked beside Ross. They're scared of us, she said quietly. They see armor and weapons, not kindness. Ross nodded. They don't have to trust us now. They'll understand when they see what we do for them. He looked up at the night sky. Any word from Earth? Signal confirmed, Mira replied. The flotilla is on its way. Fast drives. Full loadouts. They'll be here in less than a week. Ross smiled slightly. Good. Let's make sure these people are alive to see them at dawn. A warning siren echoed through the settlement. The Varn panicked, rushing to shelters. Above the planet, several dark ships appeared, their jagged shapes cutting across the pale sky. Raider scouts had returned. Inside the Resolute, Ross stood on the command deck. Power shields, armed weapons. No one fires unless I give the order. I want to see what we're dealing with. The Raider ships circled at a distance. Scanning the surface, they were not expecting resistance. When they saw the human vessel, they hesitated but did not leave. A sharp signal burst across open space, filled with threat. The translation computer displayed a single message: leave or be destroyed. Ross leaned forward. Reply on all frequencies. Tell them this world is under Terran protection now. Mira sent the message. The Raider ships slowed, clearly confused. No one had ever claimed a Varn world before. The Raiders did not fire, but they stayed close, watching. Then, after several tense minutes, they withdrew back into the darkness of space. Down on the ground, Tal approached Ross with astonishment. You did not fight them, yet they left. Ross shook his head. They're testing us. Next time they'll bring more ships. That's why we need defenses ready before the flotilla arrives. Tal looked troubled. You talk as if war is normal. Ross, answer plainly. For humans, danger is normal. War is only another kind of storm. And we've learned how to stand in storms in the following days. Humans and Varn worked side by side. Power grids were restored, barriers raised, and hidden. Landing pads cleared for incoming ships. The Varn watched closely, still uncertain whether these strange visitors were saviors or troublemakers. Saren the Scholar whispered to Tal, they act as if they own the sky. If the Raiders come in force, these humans will fight, and when they fight, they will bring fire on us all. Tal looked out at the horizon where the human vessel gleamed under the rising sun. Perhaps, Tal said softly, but for the first time, I believe we may survive. Ross stood near his ship, helmet under his arm, eyes scanning the stars. He knew the Raiders would return, stronger than before. But by then, the Terran flotilla would be here, and when humanity came in force, the galaxy would see what Deathworlders could do. The cold void of space stretched endlessly around the colony world. The Resolute hovered in high orbit, a lone human ship guarding an alien settlement far below. Inside the command deck, Commander Ross stood near the main display as stars drifted past like distant lanterns. Status report, Ross said. Lieutenant Mira tapped the controls. Shield steady, power systems stable. No sign of Raider ships since yesterday, but long-range scans show unusual movement at the edge of this system. Looks like they're gathering reinforcements. Ross nodded slowly, just as expected. On the planet below, the Varn worked side by side with the human crew. Landing pads were reinforced, damaged towers repaired, and communication relays set up to detect approaching threats. Though the Varn were not used to hard labor, they followed orders closely, learning quickly from their new allies. Tal, the colony leader, walked with Ross through the dusty streets, watching humans install heavy shield projectors. "You prepare as if war is certain," Tal said quietly. Ross answered without slowing his pace. "When danger gives warning, smart people listen. My flotilla is on the way, 10 ships, each armed and ready." Tal stopped and stared at him. 10 ships? You would send such strength for a world you do not own? Ross looked at him firmly. "We're not here to own. We're here to protect." The words carried weight. The Varn could not understand why humans would risk so much for strangers. Yet Ross spoke with calm certainty, as if the answer were obvious, far away. Across the black expanse, Earth's defense network was alive with motion. At the Terran Naval Command, alarms pulsed and voices filled the vast hangar bays. Crew members ran across polished decks as ships prepared to launch. The Terran flotilla, 10 sleek vessels, bearing the mark of humanity's survival spirit, left their stations. One by one, massive engines flared blue as they cut through darkness, moving faster than light toward a single point on the star map. The coordinates Commander Ross had sent. Captain Armin of the destroyer Ironwind spoke over the fleet channel. "We're not heading to friendly space. Any idea what we're walking into?" Commodore Lane, commander of the flotilla, answered with calm authority. "Ross doesn't call for help unless it's serious. He says there's a colony under attack. That's all we need to know. Full speed, no delays, across the fleet." Human crews prepared for battle with quiet focus. In the engine rooms, technicians checked every system twice. In the weapon bays, gunners calibrated their targeting arrays. Humans were no strangers to hostile skies. Back on the colony world, the days passed quickly. The Resolute crew trained the Varn to use emergency shelters and basic defense systems. Though the Varn were peaceful by nature, they learned how to activate shield barriers, how to send distress pings, and how to stay calm during an attack. Saren, the scholar who doubted the humans, watched Ross carefully. One evening he spoke to Tal. "They say they are explorers, but they prepare as soldiers. What if they bring the raiders down on us with their courage?" Tal shook his head. "Perhaps they will bring more danger, but I have seen the way they work. They do not fear the raiders. Maybe courage is what we need." Ross overheard part of the conversation but said nothing. Instead, he walked to the edge of the landing pad, staring up at the stars. He trusted Earth. He trusted the flotilla. Soon this lonely outpost would not be alone. 5 days after Ross sent his signal, the dark horizon of space lit up with approaching dry flares. The first of Earth's ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the Ironwind, followed by the Vigilant, Horizon, and Steel Ember. One by one, the rest of the flotilla appeared, forming a protective line around the planet. On the Resolute, Mira smiled as her console lit up with friendly identifications. "The cavalry has arrived, Commander." Ross allowed himself a rare grin, opened a channel to the fleet. A moment later, Commodore Lane's voice filled the command deck. "Ross, you found yourself trouble again." "What are we dealing with?" "Raiders," Ross replied. "They hit a defenseless colony. They'll be back in force. I plan to give them a surprise they won't forget." "Copy that," Lane said. "We'll hold orbit and prep strike wings." The sudden appearance of the flotilla shocked the Varn. From the surface, they could see human warships gliding like silent giants, their armored hulls catching the sunlight. Children pointed at them in wonder. Adults whispered in awe. Tal met Ross near the settlement center. "You truly called them here. So many ships. Are you sure this will not bring greater wrath?" Ross shook his head. "The raiders are already coming. The difference is now we're ready." That evening, the humans held a planning session aboard the Resolute. Fleet officers joined by secure link to coordinate strategy. Large holographic maps showed expected raider routes. Scouts spotted 3 destroyer-class ships gathering near the system's edge, Mira reported. "We believe more will follow." Ross pointed at the display. "We hold the high orbit line. Civilian shelters stay protected by our lowest 2 ships. If they test our defenses, we push them back without giving them a chance to touch the surface." Commodore Lane nodded in agreement. "The flotilla will rotate patrols around the planet. If they come in waves, we'll be ready every time. On the surface, Saren approached Ross once again. You bring firepower beyond anything we've ever seen. But I still do not understand. What do humans gain by defending us? Ross looked at him, his face steady. We don't measure every act by what we gain. When someone is in danger, we act. That is how we survive as a people. If we only helped ourselves, we would have vanished long ago. Saren had no answer. He walked away deep in thought. The night sky over the colony now glimmered with human warships on silent watch. Every few hours, Terran fighters streaked across the upper atmosphere in smooth patrol arcs. The Varn began to feel a cautious sense of safety, but Ross knew the peace would not last. Raiders did not accept defeat quietly. They would return, stronger. Convinced that no small colony could stand against them, what they did not know was that they were no longer facing a small colony. They were facing humanity's finest ships. As Ross stood on the Resolute's deck, Mira approached with new data. Long-range scans just picked up multiple jump signatures. Looks like the Raider fleet is on the move. Ross's eyes narrowed. Then we're done waiting. Signal the flotilla. Battle stations. In orbit above the peaceful colony, 10 Terran warships came alive. Engines roared. Weapons charged. Shields glowed faint blue as the fleet formed into a tight defensive screen. The Varn had asked for help. They had no idea what kind of storm. They had called to their skies, and humanity was ready to meet it head-on. The sky over the Varn colony shimmered with faint blue lights. Terran warships held orbit, their shields active, their weapons ready. To the Varn below, the human fleet looked like a wall of iron hanging among the stars. Children stared up in awe. Elders whispered in fear. Inside the council hall, tension grew. Tal, the colony leader, sat at a round table with other council members. Saren the scholar stood nearby, his expression sharp. This is madness, Saren said. These humans bring their war to our sky. If the raiders return and see them here, they will attack with greater fury. They would have attacked anyway, Tal replied calmly, though his voice trembled slightly. The humans are preparing to defend us, or to use us, Saren argued. No one brings 10 warships without wanting something in return. Do you really believe they risk their lives only for kindness? Several council members nodded nervously. The peaceful Varn could not imagine a species fighting without reward. To them, every action had a price. Tal turned to Commander Ross, who stood silently in his armor, arms crossed. Commander, you hear these fears. What do you say? Ross spoke in a steady voice. We came because you asked for help. We stay because leaving would mean your death. That is enough reason for us. Saren stepped closer. You speak as if humans are noble. But what if you win this battle and demand our world in payment? What if you enslave us as others have done? Ross met his gaze without anger. If you believe that, watch us closely. You will see that we do not take what is not ours. We do not chain those we protect. We only make sure no one harms them. The room fell silent. Ross was not shouting. His calm confidence carried more weight than any loud speech outside. Terran engineers and Varn laborers worked side by side. Shield generators were installed along the colony perimeter. Medical posts were strengthened. Drones hovered over the streets, mapping weak points in the settlement. Mira supervised a group of young Varn who learned how to operate simple alarms. If raiders break through, you press here, she explained. This will call help to your shelter. Do not panic. Stay inside until we secure the area. One of the young Varn looked up shyly. Why are you helping us so much? We are strangers. Mira smiled. When humans see someone in trouble, we don't wait to be friends first. We help, and friendship comes later. That night, Ross walked along the edge of the settlement with Tal. The air was cool, and the colony lights glowed dimly under the stars. Above them, the Terran flotilla drifted like silent guardians. Tal spoke softly. Saren does not trust you. Many on the council agree with him. They say you bring too much power for such a small colony. Ross looked out at the horizon. Power's useless unless it protects someone. You will learn this about humans. We do not send fleets to scare allies. We send fleets to make sure no one dares to scare them. Tal studied him for a long moment. Are all humans like you? Ross gave a faint smile. Most are. We grow up on a world that tests us every day. The strong help the weak because tomorrow we may trade places. That is how we survive. In orbit, Commodore Lane coordinated the fleet. Ross, scouts report movement at the system's edge. For Raider destroyers and several escorts, they're advancing in tight formation. Ross replied through the channel. We hold position. Let them see us waiting. No one fires unless they open the fight. If they test our line, we teach them why Deathworlders are not to be underestimated. Across the fleet, human crews prepared. Pilots sealed themselves into fighters. Gunners ran final checks. Technicians verified shield frequencies. The comm. Before battle felt heavy, but no one on the Terran ships hesitated. Back on the surface, Saren spoke again at the council meeting. We should ask the humans to leave before it is too late. Their courage will draw destruction upon us. Tal shook his head firmly. Without them we have no defense at all. You saw how the Raider scouts fled when they met even one Terran ship. Now there are 10. We cannot ask them to leave. Saren's voice sharpened. Then we must be ready for the cost. They say they expect nothing in return. But no one brings war for free. Ross had been listening quietly. At last he spoke. You are right about one thing. War always has a cost, but the cost of doing nothing is higher. You will pay with your lives if you send us away. Saren turned on him. And if we let you stay? Ross answered simply, then you will live. To decide whether you trust us tomorrow. That is all I promise. The council fell silent. Even Saren could not find an easy reply. As night deepened, the first warning came. Mira stood at her console aboard the Resolute. Commander, we have multiple jump signatures inbound. Estimated arrival in less than 1 hour. Fleet confirms these are hostile ships. Ross spoke into the comm. Signal the flotilla. All units to battle stations. Maintain high orbit formation. No one breaks the line. On the planet, alarms echoed through the streets. Varn citizens rushed to shelters as human soldiers guided them. Terran drones hovered over rooftops, scanning the skies for incoming fire. Tal found Ross near the landing pad. Will your ships truly hold them back? Ross put on his helmet. That's why we're here. Stay inside the shelters. We will not let them touch you. Tal hesitated, then gripped Ross's arm briefly. If you do this, my people will never forget. Ross gave a single nod and walked toward the shuttle that would take him back to his ship. Above them, 10 Terran warships lined in a perfect wall, ready to meet the threat head-on. In orbit, Commodore Lane spoke over the fleet channel. Enemy ships dropping out of jump now, counting for destroyers, 8 frigates, and multiple fighter wings. They're forming an attack pattern. Ross's voice came steady through the link. Let them come. Hold fire until they do. Inside the Resolute, the crew worked with quiet focus. Power levels rose. Weapon systems hummed. The ship's hull glowed faintly as shields charged to full strength. Down on the surface, the Varn huddled in their shelters, listening to the distant rumble of engines overhead. Saren sat apart from the others, staring at the ceiling. If they win, he whispered. Then perhaps I've misjudged them. The first enemy ships appeared in orbit, their jagged shapes glinting under the distant star. They came fast, confident that no colony could resist them. But this was no ordinary colony this time. The Varn were not alone. Humanity's wall of steel waited, unshaken and ready. The silence of space above the Varn colony shattered as the Raider fleet entered the system. For destroyers led the attack, their jagged silhouettes cutting through the black sky. Behind them came 8 smaller frigates and dozens of fast, agile fighter ships. The Raiders believed they would overwhelm a weak settlement and a lone human vessel. Commander Ross stood on the Resolute's command deck, eyes scanning the incoming ships. The Terran flotilla held a strong line around the colony, shields glowing faint blue. Ross's crew moved with calm precision, checking weapon systems, verifying shields, and preparing the fighters for immediate launch. Lieutenant Mira leaned over her console. Commander, they're splitting into attack groups. Destroyers are holding formation, but fighters are spreading for a surface strike. Ross nodded. Let them come. Remember, no one fires until they breach our perimeter. We give them a chance to make the first move. Commodore Lane's voice came over the fleet channel. Ross, all ships report ready. We hold orbit and maintain defensive patterns. You have the initiative on the surface, on the colony. The Varn huddled in reinforced shelters. Children clutched their parents' hands. The elders whispered prayers in their soft language. Outside, human soldiers and Varn. Volunteers moved quickly, ensuring shield barriers were active and emergency systems operational. Drones hovered overhead, scanning the dark shapes of incoming fighters. Tal stood beside Ross as he watched the distant fleet. They will not stop. They are coming to destroy us. How can your people face them? Ross adjusted his helmet. They will not destroy you because we are here. They do not know how humans fight. They underestimate what they call Deathworlders. Tal frowned. Deathworlders? What does that mean? Ross gave a slight smile. It means we survive when nothing else should. Our home world trains us to fight, to endure, to think fast and act faster. That is why we do not fear them. Tal looked uncertain but did not argue. The first fighters dropped toward the colony, their engines flaring red against the black sky. Terran interceptors launched immediately. Moving like silver arrows, they met the Raider fighters with swift precision, weaving around their attacks and cutting through their formations. On the Resolute, Mira monitored the battle. Commander, our fighters are taking down their lead wings. The Raiders did not expect this level of coordination. Ross nodded. Good, keep pressure on them. Remember, the goal is to protect the colony, not destroy every ship. Make them retreat, and they learn the cost of attacking humans. The Terran destroyers and frigates opened fire on the Raider fleet. Energy beams tearing through the hulls of enemy vessels. The Raiders fired back, their weapons powerful, but clumsy against the human shields. One Raider destroyer exploded in a bright flash, sending fragments spinning into space. Down below, the Varn watched from reinforced observation towers. The sight of humans fighting so efficiently left them in awe. They had never seen courage combined with skill in such a way. Children pointed at the sky. Elders whispered in disbelief. Tal stood silently, feeling both fear and hope. Saren approached. Tal, they are unstoppable. I cannot believe it. Tal nodded slowly. They are humans. This is why Ross called them Deathworlders. They fight as if the universe itself challenges them. Above the colony, the Raider fleet faltered. Their smaller frigates tried to regroup, but human fighters sliced through their lines with unmatched coordination. Destroyers attempted to flank the Terran ships, but the flotilla adapted instantly, closing gaps and cutting off escape routes. Ross issued orders with calm authority. Target the nearest destroyer. Focus fire. Keep formation tight. No gaps. On the Resolute, engineers adjusted shield frequencies to absorb Raider energy beams. Weapon operators recalibrated targeting to hit weak points. Every crew member worked in perfect synchronization. Mira observed the Raider fighters breaking formation. They are retreating from the surface. They are losing too many ships already. Ross's voice was steady. Good. Let them learn that humans protect their allies on the ground. Varn volunteers worked with human soldiers to repair minor damage caused by Raider fighter strafing. Power lines flickered, but human engineers restored them quickly. Tal walked among the Varn, speaking quietly. See how they fight. They risk everything. Yet they do not harm us. They only protect. Saren watched from a high observation tower. He shook his head in disbelief. All my life, I thought survival required cunning and hiding. But humans, they face danger and turn it into strength. The battle above reached its climax. The Raider destroyers attempted one last coordinated strike on the Terran line. Energy beams clashed in brilliant flashes of light. One destroyer charged directly at the Resolute, hoping to breach its shields. Ross gripped the control console. All power to forward shields. Launch countermeasures. Focus on the lead destroyer. Take it down. Fighter wings swooped around the Raider ship, drawing its fire. Terran destroyers fired concentrated energy bursts, hitting the destroyers. Weak points. The hull buckled. The Raider vessel exploded in a massive ball of fire, leaving fragments drifting in silence. The remaining Raiders, seeing their leaders destroyed and their fighters decimated, began to retreat, their confidence shattered. They fled back toward the edge of the system. The sky over the colony slowly cleared. Human fighters returned to orbit. Terran destroyers and frigates held their positions, shields glowing faintly blue. The raiders were gone for now. On the ground, Tal approached Ross. "You have saved us. I do not understand how your people can fight like this. They are fearless and precise." Ross removed his helmet. "We do what must be done. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting even when fear is there. That is why humans survive." Saren, still in awe, spoke quietly. "They do not fight for glory. They fight because it is the right thing to do. I have misjudged them all my life." Tal nodded. "We owe you more than words can express. Perhaps the universe is kinder then. I imagined, with allies like you." Ross looked toward the stars, scanning for any remaining threats. "We protect those who ask for help. That is what humans do. Your colony is safe, for now. But remember, survival requires preparation. You have allies, but you must also learn to defend yourselves." The Varn began to understand the humans. They had witnessed courage, strategy, and resilience in action. The humans had turned a desperate situation into a decisive victory. Children played in the streets under careful watch. Adults repaired buildings and relayed supplies. Feeling hope for the first time in months, Ross returned to the Resolute. Standing on the observation deck and looking at the Varn colony below, he knew the raiders would not give up so easily. They would plan another attack. But now they knew what humans were capable of. Mira joined him. "They will think twice before coming back." Ross nodded. "Yes, but our work is not done. We protect, we teach, and we prepare. That is how humans survive. That is how we honor those who call for help." Above the planet, the Terran flotilla remained in orbit, a silent wall of steel. The raiders had learned a lesson they would not forget. Humanity had arrived, and they had faced the wrath of Deathworlders. The colony was safe, for now. Hope burned bright across the Varn world. The day after the battle, the Varn colony stirred with cautious energy. Fires had been put out, buildings patched, and supply lines restored. Terran engineers moved among the Varn, checking shield generators and setting up long-range scanners. The humans had not only won the battle, but were teaching the aliens how to prepare for the next. Commander Ross walked along one of the main streets, observing the activity. Farm workers carried crates of food and water, while young volunteers assisted humans in adjusting portable shields. Each step Ross took was measured, his calm presence giving confidence to the nervous colonists. Lieutenant Mira caught up with him. "Commander, long-range scans show no raider movement in the system. They've retreated for now, but sensors indicate they're regrouping near a nearby asteroid field, likely planning another strike." Ross nodded. "Then we have time. We use this calm to teach them how to survive. Today, the colony becomes stronger." Tal approached them, his face lined with worry, but also curiosity. "You want to train us, teach us to defend ourselves?" Ross smiled faintly. "Yes, you cannot always rely on others to protect you. The stronger you become, the safer you are. We will show you how to prepare, how to detect threats, and how to react when danger comes." Saren, who had spent the past day watching humans repair buildings and deploy drones, spoke quietly. "I have seen courage before, but humans turn it into a lesson. They do not act recklessly. Everything is planned. That is what makes them dangerous to enemies." Ross turned to him. "Good observation. Danger does not always come in force. It comes in surprise. You must know how to act before it arrives." The humans divided the Varn into groups. One team learned to operate shield generators, understanding how energy flow and power levels could stop attacks. Another group learned to monitor scanners and detect ships at long range. Children watched from a safe distance as older Varn practiced simple drills. Guided by calm human instructors, Ross demonstrated defensive formations on a holographic map. "If attackers approach from here," he said, pointing to one sector, "we form layers. First, shield drones. Second, mobile interceptors. Third, stationary defenses. Coordination is the key. No one acts alone." Tal and Saren followed every word carefully. The Varn were intelligent, but untrained in warfare. Even so, they grasped the basic principles. Slowly, fear turned into focus. By midday, small drills were underway. Varn volunteers moved through training zones, carrying simulation devices. Human soldiers corrected their stance, explained timing, and demonstrated teamwork. Mira supervised. One group, "Do not rush," she told them. "The enemy is fast, but they are predictable if you think ahead. Your goal is not to attack, but to survive until help arrives." A young Varn, trembling as he lifted a mock device, whispered, "I was always afraid of the raiders. I did not think we could fight back." Mira knelt beside him. "Courage is not born, it is learned. You are learning today that fear will turn into strength." Even the elders observed in silence, absorbing the lessons. What had once seemed impossible, facing a violent enemy without despair, now felt achievable under human guidance. Above the colony, the Terran flotilla remained vigilant. The raiders had not disappeared entirely. Ross used the time to test his ships in patrol formations. Fighters moved in synchronized patterns, scanning the system for hidden threats. Energy shields hummed as destroyers rotated to cover weak points. Commodore Lane's voice came over the fleet channel. "Ross, all units reporting ready. We detect raider forces preparing jumps in the asteroid field. They might attempt a sudden strike." Ross replied calmly, "We're ready. Maintain high orbit. The colony below is safe for now. If they come, we meet them with full force. But the real lesson is here on the ground. The Varn must learn how to act before we engage." That afternoon, a demonstration of tactical retreat was underway. Humans and Varn moved through simulated attacks using holographic projections and drone targets. The Varn were hesitant at first, but under Ross's firm guidance, they executed basic maneuvers. Tal watched closely. "They did not panic," he remarked. "Even when the enemy appears overwhelming, they act logically." Ross nodded. "Panic is the enemy. Logic and training give you power even when you are afraid. Fear is natural, but it must not control your actions." Saren studied a Varn volunteer moving through the drill. "I have never seen our people act with such precision. The humans make them believe in themselves. That is their greatest weapon." Ross overheard him. "Confidence grows from knowledge and preparation. That is something humans know well. You can learn it too." By evening, the Varn colony had made significant progress. Shield generators were functioning correctly. Observation posts were manned. Emergency drills had been completed multiple times. The humans were not only protecting the colony, they were making it capable of defending itself. Ross gathered Tal and Saren for a final discussion. "Before nightfall, you have learned the basics. When the raiders return, you will act without hesitation. Humans will support you, but the first step is yours. You must understand the value of preparation, teamwork, and courage." Tal nodded, his eyes firm. "We will follow your guidance. We will not hide and wait for death. We will act." Saren remained quiet for a long moment, then said, "I see now. Humans do not only fight, they teach survival. That is why they succeed where others fail." Ross smiled. "Yes, and now you can see why a colony is stronger when its people know how to defend themselves. The lesson is not just for today, it is for every day after this." Night fell, and the Varn gathered in small groups within reinforced shelters. The sky was filled with human patrol ships moving silently in orbit. Children slept peacefully, protected by shields and vigilant humans. Adults reviewed instructions and practiced emergency routines. Ross stood on the deck of the Resolute, looking down at the settlement. Mira joined him. "They are learning quickly," she said. "Even Saren admits it." Ross nodded. "Good. Knowledge is as important as firepower. The raiders may return, but when they do, these people will act with purpose. That is the difference between a helpless colony and one that can survive under any threat." Mira looked up at the stars. "Do you think the raiders will come back soon?" Ross's eyes narrowed slightly, steady as ever. "Yes, but this time they will face not only humans, but a prepared colony. That is how the universe learns the price of attacking the weak under human protection. The night over the Varn colony was quiet, but it was a quiet built on strength, training, and hope. The humans had taught more than courage. They had taught survival. And for the first time in months, the Varn believed they could endure whatever came next. The first light of dawn touched the horizon of the Varn colony. The humans in Varn were awake early, preparing for what they all knew could come. Scouts reported movement at the edge of the system. The raiders had regrouped and were returning. In greater numbers. Commander Ross stood on the deck of the Resolute, looking down at the colony that now felt more like a fortress than a vulnerable settlement. Shields lined the streets, drones hovered above key points, and Varn volunteers stood, ready alongside human soldiers. Lieutenant Mira approached, her console showing incoming signals. "Commander, they have 10 destroyers, 15 frigates, and countless fighters. They are attempting to encircle the system." Ross nodded. "All units hold formation. Remember, our priority is the colony. The raiders may come in force, but we will not let them breach the perimeter." Commodore Lane's voice came over the fleet channel. "Ross, fleet is in position. Fighters and destroyers are ready. No mistakes this time. The enemy will test us hard." Ross's eyes were calm. "Let them come. Today they learn what it means to face Deathworlders on the surface." The Varn moved with determination. Tal checked shield barriers and relayed instructions from the humans. Volunteers manned observation posts and maintained communication links. Children were moved to secure shelters. Saren walked among the adults, quietly giving instructions that mirrored what the humans had taught. Tal spoke to him. "You have changed, Saren. You no longer fear humans. You see their ways differently." Saren nodded. "Yes, courage combined with strategy is not something we knew before. I understand now why they survive." Tal looked at him seriously. "Then we will survive too, if we follow their guidance." The raider fleet emerged from the dark edge of the system. Their destroyers glowed with harsh red light. Fighters swarmed like angry insects. Diving toward the planet, Ross issued commands through the Resolute's consoles. "All Terran ships, engage interceptors. Protect the colony. Keep the destroyers in sight. Drones to the outer sectors. Maintain shield layers. No one acts alone." The Terran flotilla responded instantly. Fighters streaked across space, intercepting raider craft. Energy beams clashed in brilliant flashes as destroyers exchanged fire. Every shot the raiders took was met by a precise counterattack. On the colony below, Varn volunteers stayed in position. Using human guidance, they operated shield generators and monitored alerts. The holographic training had become real. They acted with calm, guided by knowledge. The raiders attempted a double strike. To destroyers aimed for the colony's main shield hub, while fighters tried to break through human defenses. Ross barked orders. "Forward shields to maximum. Target lead destroyers. Fighters, intercept all incoming craft, drones. Form protective perimeter." The humans and Varn worked together seamlessly. Shields held against heavy energy blasts. Fighters swooped in, taking down raider craft before they reached the surface. Human destroyers focused fire on the enemy lead ships. One destroyer exploded in a fiery bloom, sending fragments outward. Tal watched in awe. They did not falter. They act with purpose. Saren whispered, "This is more than skill. This is discipline, courage, and intelligence combined." The battle intensified. Raiders tried to regroup, but the Terran ships anticipated every move. Ross coordinated from the Resolute, guiding fighters and destroyers with calm precision. "Focus fire on the central destroyer," Ross ordered. "Keep the outer perimeter clear. Shield drones. Absorb the energy. Interceptors. Cover all approaches." The Varn below followed human instructions perfectly. Shields held strong. Observation drones spotted flanking maneuvers and relayed warnings. Volunteers corrected minor mistakes immediately. Every action had purpose. Every move was calculated. Mira reported, "Commander, the raiders are faltering. Their destroyers are taking heavy damage. Fighters are retreating." Ross allowed himself a slight smile. "Good. Keep pressure on them. Do not give them an easy path." The raiders realized they were losing. Their destroyers were damaged, their fighters scattered, and morale collapsing. They attempted one last concentrated attack. focusing on the main shield generator protecting the settlement. Ross gave the order with calm authority, all firepower on the lead destroyer. Shield generators to maximum, interceptors intercept. Remaining fighters, protect the colony at all costs. Energy beams from Terran ships struck the lead destroyer with precision. It shuddered under repeated hits and exploded in a massive fireball. Remaining raiders, seeing their leaders destroyed, began a hasty retreat. Fighters attempted to flee but were intercepted by Terran wings. Within moments, the system was clear of enemy presence. On the surface, the Varn emerged from shelters, staring at the sky in disbelief. Tal turned to Ross. "They are gone. You have saved us again." Ross removed his helmet, his face calm but tired. "This is what happens when you prepare and fight together. You have done your part as well. Courage without action is meaningless. Today, you acted." Saren stood nearby, shaking his head. "I have never witnessed anything like this. Humans fight, but they also teach. That is the greatest power." The Varn celebrated cautiously. Buildings were repaired quickly. Thanks to human engineers, children returned to play under careful supervision. Volunteers continued to maintain shields and monitoring systems. For the first time, the colony felt safe. Ross addressed Tal and the council. "You have survived an attack that would have destroyed any unprepared settlement. Remember, what you have learned today: preparation, courage, and cooperation are your greatest tools. The raiders may return, but you are no longer helpless." Tal bowed his head. "We understand. Your people have given us more than protection. You have given us knowledge, courage, and hope. We will honor that lesson." Ross nodded. "That is all we ask. Survival is built on lessons learned, not victories alone. You now know what it means to endure." In orbit, the Terran flotilla remained vigilant for hours before standing down. Commodore Lane's voice came over the channel. "Ross, system clear. Colony protected. Enemy forces scattered. You and your team performed perfectly." Ross responded calmly. "Thank you. The colony has learned the value of preparation. That is the true victory. The raiders know now that humans do not fight recklessly, and allies are never left alone." Mira added, "The Varn will remember this day. They will carry the lesson forward." Ross looked at the planet below. "Yes, courage, knowledge, and action. That is how humanity survives. That is how we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Today, the colony is alive because of that lesson." Tal approached Ross one final time. "Your people are not like anyone we have met before. They fight, yes, but they also teach, guide, and protect. We are grateful beyond words." Ross gave a faint smile. "We only do what we must. You have the tools now. Use them wisely. That is the greatest gift of all." The sun rose higher, casting light across the repaired colony. The Varn worked together under human guidance, rebuilding stronger than before. The streets were filled with life and hope. Above them, the Terran flotilla remained in orbit, a silent wall of protection, ensuring no threat could return unchallenged. Commander Ross and Lieutenant Mira stood on the Resolute observation deck. Mira spoke softly. "They have learned courage, preparation, and unity. The colony will survive because of us, but also because of themselves." Ross nodded. "That is the lesson of every battle. Victory is not just in defeating enemies. It is in teaching others to stand when the storm comes. Humanity fights to protect. And in doing so, we create allies, not dependents. That is the strength of Deathworlders." The Varn colony thrived. Its people no longer feared the raiders. They had learned to fight, to prepare, and to survive under guidance and courage. Humanity had come as saviors, but they had left behind something even greater: knowledge, hope, and the certainty that no one is ever truly alone when allies stand beside them. Above the horizon, the Terran flotilla glimmered in the morning light. The battle was over. The lesson was learned. The universe had seen what Deathworlders could do, and the Varn would never forget.